Welcome back to Trinity House, our undercard press conference ahead of a huge night of boxing on Saturday night at the O2. As you can see, it's a monstrous top table full of some of the finest talent from around the world. Very proud to be putting on this show on Saturday night with 3 world title fights, some huge domestic clashes, debuts of legends' sons. This show's got it all, and of course culminating with the heavyweight championship of the world between Charles Martin and Anthony Joshua. Just a couple of things. Obviously, we weren't able to get everybody on the top table, and people's representatives are here on for everybody to speak to after as well, notably Greg Cohen Promotions, Sanagar Boxing, and anyone else I've missed out. Billy Nelson with Dave Brophy, Dave Coldwell with Jamie McDonnell. So everyone is available to chat to you afterwards as well. Before we talk further about the card, as you know, we're widely supported by Sky Sports. Wouldn't be possible without them. And I'd like to pass over to the head of boxing, Adam Smith, to say a few words.
Thanks, Eddie. Fantastic, stellar lineup this on Saturday night. I mean, the top of the bill is obviously something we've been looking forward to for so long with Charles Martin and Anthony Joshua. But look at the array of talent on this table. It's a long, long table. I was saying to Ted Cheeseman at the end, you know, as he goes through his career, he'll move a little closer to the middle. But it's difficult to put anyone in the middle. I mean, it really is a fantastic bill on Saturday night. Looking forward to seeing O'Hara Davis, who, you know, high hopes for, obviously, from the Matchroom stable. He's got a tough one for the English title against our young friend down the far end. We've got 2 terrific world title fights featuring 2 guys that we at Sky have kept a close eye on over the years. Jamie McDonnell has done everything asked of him. British, Commonwealth, European, world title, and then to go to America and shine over there. I know he doesn't mind who he fights, when he fights, where he fights, so long as he fights. And that's an attitude that I think makes him possibly one of the most underrated stars we have in British boxing. Lee Selby, to my right, has so much ability, so much talent. It's been a pleasure watching him come through from Wales. You know, we've been a big supporter of Welsh boxing with the likes of Nicky Piper, Joe Calzaghe, you know, Robbie Regan and Gavin Rees and Bradley Price and so many of them, Enzo Macronelli over the years. And I think it's really good to have Lee back here after his last fight in the States. Great to have him back, but he's got a really, really tough test, I know, against the American Eric Hunter, who's we've kept an eye on as well for a long time from Philly. So really good fights. And then one I'm particularly looking forward to is Matthew Macklin and Brian Rose. You know, 2 guys that have crossed paths socially. I know Bobby Rimmer's going to have a tough time on the night, but it is business, and it's a really, really good crossroads fight. I think the styles will knit magically, so that's really good. Get there early for that one. And as for George Groves and David Brophy, another terrific fight, terrific matchup. George telling us that he is going to become a world champion within the next 12 months or so. He's certainly got the ability to do it, but in David Brophy, unbeaten from Scotland, it's a real opportunity for David. It's a pleasure to have you on the show, and really looking forward to that ahead of the main event. So I think it's just a fantastic mix of boxing. I hope you're enjoying all the build-up on Sky. The gloves are off, the behind the ropes, really good behind the ropes with Anthony Joshua later tonight. Don't miss that one. Real special insight into him. We've got countdowns tomorrow and Friday. Plenty of activity before the fight, but what a night. Get there, and if you can't get there, watch it on Sky Sports Box Office, because it should be a good one.
Thanks, Adam. I'm going to start with a fight that you talked about there, and a fight that is difficult for a lot of people in boxing, especially for us, obviously representing both fighters. 2 terrific fighters, already achieved a huge amount on the world stage already and domestically. Matthew Macklin, we've seen in some wonderful fights over the years, of course. Very unlucky not to become world champion when he challenged Felix Sturm for the world title. Great fights with Martinez. Been in a ring with Golovkin as well. And Brian Rose, who domestically has cleaned up, moved up into some big fights as well, challenged for the WBO world title against Andrade in New York. And on Saturday night, they meet in a wonderful domestic clash. And firstly, I'm going to speak to Brian, talk to him about the fight, and ahead of an important night for you on Saturday night. Tell us a bit about the camp and your thoughts for Saturday.
I think there's a lot on the line for both of us. Everyone knows that. You know, I think social media have Macklin favourite and the bookies have me favourite, so it's a genuine 50-50 fight. People talking about me, you know, not wanting to fight him 3 or 4 years ago. I probably wouldn't have wanted to fight him 3 or 4 years ago because he was at world level and I was still fighting for English and British titles. So we're not talking about 3 or 4 years ago, we're talking about now. And I believe I've got more left in the tank, and that's what it boils down to on the night. My camp's gone great, no injuries, which I've had to deal with the last couple of camps. I just know Saturday night's going to be my night.
Do you feel the pressure to win the fight? Obviously, you and Matthew, you know, you've been there, done a huge amount in the game, and both feel like you must win on Saturday night to progress and carry on at the level you want to be at.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same position I was against Carson Jones, only Carson Jones beat me the first time. So I'm in the same position. I like to put that sort of pressure on myself because walking into the ring, if I've got that pressure, I perform. And I know I'll perform on Saturday night. I've got a lot of respect for Matthew. He's given me a bit of advice in the past. So the build-up hasn't been, you know, like any other build-up. It's been quite quiet, but I'm sure the fight on Saturday night will be fireworks.
Matthew, it's very rare to see you in a non-entertaining fight, and judging by people's opinions on this one, this has all the recipe and makings of a great fight.
Yeah, definitely, and I think you know, styles make fights, and I think it's impossible that our styles won't mesh to be a great fight, whether that's a round or 12 rounds. It's funny because I feel like I'm in a similar situation to I've been before, prior to the Sturm fight, prior to the Wayne Alcock fight, where I'd had a period of kind of, you know, really just where my career had stagnated and, you know, maybe looked like it was going to just dwindle out altogether, and then bang, a big performance comes out of the blue. I think with me, a lot of it is just getting my head right, getting up for the fight, getting the camp right, getting the training right, and I'm quite an analytical person. I think about things, and if you're that type of person, then you need to make sure all the boxes are ticked. And I couldn't honestly really say that was the case for a long time, really. But, you know, whether it was getting up for the fight, whether it was, you know, a training program. You know, I've been in Marbella, New York, Manchester, back to Marbella, back to Manchester, and it's unsettling, and it's hard to kind of just get your training routine down pat how you want it done. Then the last year, after the Highland loss, I wasn't even sure if I wanted to box anymore. And then, you know, kind of the summertime, I turned the corner with that and thought, no, I do. I feel I've still got plenty left, and I still want to give it one final crack. You know, you retired a long time, and I don't want to be one of those that comes back. So when I do retire, I want closure. You know, Jason Wellborn, if I'd have lost, I would have retired. So it was the same situation as now, but the difference was I probably, for the life of me, never seen that could even be a possibility, and I was more, you know, preoccupied with making the 154 pounds rather than, you know, Jason Wellborn and the threat that he was bringing. And, you know, I underperformed. I didn't perform well on the night at all, but, you know, dug in and got the job done. Since then, this fight came up, and I think it's the perfect fight for me at this stage of my career. I think it'll tell me what I need to know about myself. Brian's a good fighter, like you say, cleaned up domestically, has fought for the world title against a good world champion, Demetrius Andrade. But, you know, I think if I'm honest with myself, and, you know, obviously Brian will see it differently, but, you know, if the version of me that fought Felix Sturm and Sergio Martinez, if that version turns up on Saturday night, then, you know, it could be a painful night for Brian Rose, and, you know, there's no derogatory talk or any trash talk, and, you know, and that's always the way I've been in my career, and I believe empty cans make the most noise. You know, I've always gone in there, I don't say I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, but when the bell goes, I lay it all on the line, and that's what will be happening on Saturday night. You know, it was a similar situation with Jamie Moore. You know, there was no needle, there was no grudge, there was no slagging off, but there was no quarter given and none asked. And, you know, again, I laid it all on the line that night, and this is a similar situation. Bobby Rimmer obviously trains and looks after Brian Rose. Bobby was a great friend to me when I moved to Manchester, training with Billy Graham. You know, I lived with him for 5 or 6 months in his house. Then I lived above his pub for about 6 months. No, for about a year was it, I think, Bobby. And Shameless ain't got a patch on this pub. Yeah, Shameless hasn't got a patch on that pub, trust me. But no, great days, great times, and you know, Bobby's a friend. Brian's a great lad. You know, I respect him. I like him as a person, and you know, I just think unfortunately for Brian, I think he's catching me at the wrong time. If he'd have caught me in October, he might have beaten me. But I think that Saturday night's going to be reignite my career, and I'm going to move on to bigger and better things after this.
Obviously, we know you've got a great boxing brain, and like you say, you're a great analyst as well. Without giving too much away in terms of tactics, but I don't think tactics are necessarily going to play a huge part in this fight. are you just expecting that kind of fight that you love to be in?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you summed it up. Then it's. I think it will be that type of fight, and it's not like Brian's got. He's not a slick southpaw. He's not a mad stocky come forward. He's pretty conventional. He's pretty textbook. Sort of does what he's supposed to do. So in many ways, he's been easy to prepare for, easy to get sparring for. And I think you always have plan A, plan B, and you have tactics. But I think a lot of the time as well, for me anyway, I'm very much an instinctive fighter. So look, the fight could go a lot of ways. I mean, the most important thing for me is that I perform well, whether that means I knock him out in the first round, or whether I beat him convincingly over 12 rounds and box well. The most important, I'm not going to put pressure on myself that I have to do him inside 6 or I have to do him quicker than someone else done him. But as long as I box well and perform well, I'm happy with my performance and feel that I performed, then I'll be happy. But all going well and everything, I do perform like that, then I do think it will be inside the distance.
Thank you, Matthew. Another domestic fight, which is a fascinating affair, is David Brophy against George Groves. Of course, we've seen George Groves achieve so much on the world stage, and David Brophy has been steadily making his progress under Billy Nelson, boxed on some big shows already, and been waiting for a big opportunity like this. And when we was looking at potential opponents with Nisse and George and Shane McGuigan, we were looking internationally, and I always felt like a domestic fight would be a lot more interesting. One thing I have to say about George is rarely do they turn down an opponent, and when we made the call to David Brophy's team, they came back almost instantly to take the fight, and I have to give them a huge amount of credit, because many fighters in his position would have been looking for probably an intermediate step before making this big jump. But he's in great shape. We've heard tremendous things from Joe Gallagher's gym. He's been sparring many dozens of rounds with Callum Smith in this camp. And David Brophy, a huge opportunity for you on Saturday night at the O2 Arena.
Yeah, a massive opportunity. As I say, being in Scotland, no lot of opportunities have been given to me. So I jumped at the chance of this. I mean, if you can't go up for a fight on the O2 Arena and this undercard, then you'll never be prepared for anything. So we jumped at the chance. This is a massive opportunity for me. Obviously, getting here as underdog, I don't mind that. My apprenticeship's done in boxing now, so it's time to get in with the big fish, and I'm really looking forward to Saturday. I'm ready for Saturday. We never had a lot of time to prepare, but there'll be no win, lose or draw. There'll be no excuses about preparation time. I wouldn't have took a fight unless I was going to be ready, so I'm ready to go. I'm looking forward to Saturday. And
you've boxed at big arenas before, and obviously you boxed on a number of our cards at the Ricky Burns. You boxed in front of 8, 9, 10,000 people. And you don't strike me as the person that's going to be overawed with the situation. How important is it to keep your head, listen to Billy, and execute the game plan on Saturday?
Oh, it's vital. I mean, it's how you take this the arena and with you. I mean, me personally, I think I'll thrive on it. I mean, I think you need to. I think if you get into your shell with the crowd, then it's game over before even the first bells went. But these things I thrive on. I mean, I love the fact. I love the thought of this fighting Saturday in the arena. I've been to the arena watching Frotch and Kessler before, and I can remember I was sitting with Ricky Burns and I said to him, and I says, imagine fighting here. How good would this be? So I mean, it's a dream, but this is. I've only just got the fight, so I've still got a lot of work to do in the fight. So I mean, it's a dream come true, especially fighting here, but there's still a lot of work to be done in the fight for me.
How motivating is it finally to know that a win over George Groves on this huge card on Saturday night will basically unlock the key to huge fights on the domestic scene and also at world level as well?
Yeah, I mean, the domestic scene in super middleweight is massive now. It's probably the hardest, one of the hardest there is now. So for a win like this on this stage and be noticed, it's the biggest important thing for me. Be noticed, make a good account of myself, get a good win, and it puts me right in the mix for the titles you need to change your life. At the end of the day, I mean, this is a sport, but at the end of the day, you're doing this as a business, and it's these are the kind of fights that can change your life overnight. So I'm taking this fight very seriously. Even nothing else matters to me now apart from this fight and getting a good account of myself and getting a good win.
Thank you, David, and always a pleasure to welcome Team Sauerland, the Sauerland brothers, to these shores. Although you're here, and Caller's, I think, in America this week with Arthur Abraham. Pass over to Nisse Sauerland, say a few words, and introduce his charge, George Groves.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be working with Eddie and Sky again. you know, and going back to the O2, I'm sure it brings back a lot of great memories for George. He had a great fight against James DeGale there, and we're looking for, you know, more of those nights. I think Saturday is a case of keeping the eye on the prize. David Brophy is an unknown entity. He's dangerous. He's unbeaten. You know, there's a lot of talk about some big domestic fights, big international fights. You know, Callum Smith, Martin Murray, Badu Jack, Arthur Abraham, Felix Storm, all those people. But we can't look past David Brophy, and that's a fact. You know, it's tough getting in there with someone you don't really know that much about. He's unbeaten, and you know, he can cause us some trouble. So we just have to keep our eye on the prize.
Thanks, George. Obviously, a big night for you on Saturday night. Like Nisei said, everyone talking about these other fights. You've been in David's situation before. You know what an opportunity this is for him. You know how hungry he'll be on Saturday night.
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. Looking forward to boxing again in London, boxing at the O2 Arena. Yeah, I've seen this piece of David Brophy. Seems like a good fighter, nice guy. We've prepared really well. Feel that made some big improvements, and looking forward to displaying them on Saturday night. So yeah, you're in for a treat.
Under the tutelage of Shane and guy Shane McGuigan here as well today for questions for you after. Look really sharp at the workout, punching hard. Is that a plan? Is that a strategy?
I was going half pace because I was watching Shannon Briggs, to be honest. Yeah, it was. Yeah, there's been some improvements. Feeling good, feeling sharp. Looking forward to fighting. Really, wanting to be busy this year, and means because I want to fight. I want to be in there. I want to be in the thick of it. So looking forward to fighting.
Moving on to our world title clashes. Firstly, introducing Fernando Vargas, who, although training for a fight, has stepped up for a world title challenge, and coming off a strong win against Wilfredo Vasquez Jr. will challenge Jamie McDonnell for the WBA Bantamweight Championship of the World. Wilfredo, a huge opportunity for you, and short preparation, but a big chance.
Yes, he's actually glad to get this fight, even though it was short notice, because since the Wilfredo fight, no one's ever wanted to fight him there in Mexico. So when the opportunity came along, even though it was short notice, he grabbed it. He's always in the gym, he's always training, and he'd like to say thank you to the promoter for having him here.
Thank you, Fernando. Wish you the best of luck on Saturday. An unsung hero, probably, of British boxing, but if you say that enough, you become recognised and noticed, and I feel over the last few months you have been. 2 incredible victories against Comida, and although I wasn't able to be there, my old man lived and breathed every moment of it. 2 of his famous, well, most successful nights and rewarding nights, he tells me, in British boxing. Jamie McDonnell, you have become a real star of British boxing now, and I think people now sitting up and noticing just what you're achieving. Like Adam said, British, Commonwealth, European, 2-time world champion. Should be three. Well, should be three, but he vacated. And a big opportunity. I know how excited you are to box back in the UK, and a tricky test against Vargas on Saturday night.
It is a very tricky test, you know. It's coming at short notice. To be fair, I still not even watched him, but I leave that up to my trainer and manager Dave Colwell. He'll come up with the goods and just tell me what to do. And you know, I've trained for probably 20 weeks. I should have been fighting in January, you know, so I got in the gym beginning in November. Training's gone absolutely fantastic. This was probably the best I've felt going into a fight, and the most confident. You know, normally, you know, when it gets to this stage, you're looking forward to getting weighed in and stuff, but I'm looking forward to, you know, getting in there and putting on a performance. I want to look good. I want to steal the show. Massive occasion. You know, and I think it's my time, you know, to steal the limelight.
I might be wrong, and I know that, you know, since our relationship, it's always been about just get me the biggest fights, get me the most money you can. But since teaming up with Dave Coldwell, there seems to be a real love of boxing as well. I know you've always loved the game, but, you know, enjoying improving and looking to showcase that. And I see something in your eye that tells me that you're really looking forward to Saturday night and going on after this to maybe look at unifying the division or also moving up to the super bantamweight division as well.
Yeah, definitely. You know, all I want now is big fights. You know, I've always thought about having, you know, all the world titles, and obviously when you start out, you don't believe you're going to get them all, but I do generally believe I'm going to have every single belt. Like say, I should have the WBO world title. You know, I'll have to go back and get that off some other kid, but you know, I've got this fight in front of me. I get this fight out of the way. We'll look at, you know, Piano fight for the super belt. We've got Lee Askins, you know, with the IBF world title. So, you know, there's some big fights out there, but, you know, the plan was to move up after the first Kameda fight, you know, but I still make the weight, and as long as there's fights still left at bantamweight, you know, I'm going to stay there. But, you know, I'd love to move up, you know, mix it with your Quiggs and your Framptons and, you know, some real big fights.
Wait for that fight, WBA Bantamweight Championship of the World. Moving over to our friend from Philadelphia, Eric Hunter. Sorry it's taken so long to get round to you. This is a big opportunity for you. I'm really looking forward to this fight. I've watched you in interviews in the ring. I think this is a very, very tough fight for Lee Selby. I've seen a lot of your interviews as well, feeling like you've been overlooked for this fight, but we know you and your team are very confident ahead of Saturday.
Yeah, I'm just here to fight.
And what sort of fight should we expect from you on Saturday night? We know of your reputation, which I know you smile and laugh at, but tell us what you think of Lee Selby and how you think it will go down.
I don't know. I'm just here to fight.
Thank you, Eric. I knew we could count on you. Lee.
Yes. I thought I was a man of few words.
I know. I was surprised. I never thought you'd be out. You'd be underspoken. We saw you at the public workout. You looked absolutely sensational. Yeah. The O2 been kind of like a home for you over the years. You know, you fought Ryan Walsh there. You won the world title then against Gradovic. You won the final eliminator there as well. The performance in Montiel against Montiel in Phoenix, new experience for you. A little bit less buzz in the arena, and I know that Saturday night with 17,000 people in there, you'll be looking to do something very special.
I say, other than fighting at home in Wales, the O2, it's like a second home to me. I've had 3 fights there. I won the Lonsdale bout outright. I won my right to fight for the world title, and of course I won the world title. Now I'm back here making my second defence against a very good fighter, #1 challenger, and he ain't that for no reason. I've been there myself. I was #1 challenger. I had to earn the spot, so obviously he's earned the spot to fight me. I'm looking forward to Saturday to put on a good performance.
He wouldn't tell us about the fight to expect and what he brings to the table. We know you've studied him, and Chris and Tony and the team have. What do you expect from Eric Hunter on Saturday night?
I'm just here to fight.
And moving on, of course, plenty of talk about unifying the division and all these super fights, but 100% the focus on Eric Hunter on Saturday.
I think the British public might have written him off a bit, looking ahead to like unification fights and bigger fights down the line, but I know Eric Hunter is a very good fighter. It's going to be a tough fight. Well, I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you, Lee. Great English title action on the card as well. O'Hara Davis against Andy Keats, and one of our young undefeated fighters, Ted Cheeseman, as well, will be starting off the show for us. And of course, Conor Benn, who we introduced to the public yesterday, will be live on Sky Sports Box Office as well.